you don't know where I'm at in this series, there'll be a link right here to a playlist that'll get you caught up to all this madness. Stay tuned.
I was sitting out there in the shed one evening, not doing too much of nothing, just kind of staring at the wall.
So what I got here is a 1980 Suzuki GS450. What I'd like to do is turn this into a dual sport. So I'm going to take this bike apart and I'm going to get some dirt bike suspension, wheels, all that stuff, and transform this into a dual sport. Probably going to start with the rear end. A 97 YZ125. Okay, so first impressions, hell yeah. So there's a shock in there. There's going to be some obvious clearance issues. I don't think it's anything we can't overcome. But yeah, I'm liking it so far. Looks like there's going to be pretty good alignment with the chain and sprockets. So all is well. It's nice and tight, I like it. Working out very good. Very good. Alright, so the next thing is to get the dog bone hooked up. Alright, got those things tacked in there. Alright, so here's what I come up with for the upper shock mount. Got a couple spacers, bolts, and these brackets. There's one thing I've learned from doing this, is you don't fully weld anything until you've tested it first. So it's just tacked in, and it's going to stay that way until I know that it's going to work. I think I'm going to take it down off the jack and look at it under its own weight. Alright, so plan 2 here is I've got the original Suzuki bearing race chucked up here in the lathe, and I'm going to bore it out to fit the new Yamaha bearing race. And I'll press those two together and press that up in there, and that should get me where I need to go. Alright, I'm going to take this over to the press and use the press to push those together. Alright, so now I've got the race pressed into the race. I just gotta wonder if anybody else on the planet has ever done anything like this. Alright, I got my bearing race here. Let's get this started up in here. Oh yeah, that's gonna work. That'll work fine. I gotta figure out what to do with the top bearing. Alright, so I got this turned down, a little shoulder in there. Let's see if this will tap on there. Alright, so that's good. I'm going to put a weld on there to hold this piece on. No, seriously though, what do you think? Oh yeah. I think I'm going to start addressing the rear brake. So this originally had mechanical drum brakes, and now we have hydraulic disc brakes. So I have this master cylinder and reservoir set up, and I need to mount this somewhere in this area here. I'm going to try to keep the original foot brake lever, and there's going to be some tricky stuff going on down in here to make this work in here. Alright, so the next thing I want to tackle here, because I'd really like to be able to take it off this jack, I'm going to do the kickstand. Alright, so here's the kickstand. I ended up having to extend the little peg off of there, and I extended the little spring perch and moved it down about a ½ inch. Alright, sitting on the kickstand. I think that's going to be about the right length. Alright, so I just hanging the exhaust on here, and I already see there is some more issues that I have to overcome. And there's this bracket here. It's got to go behind here, and it's interfering with the swing arm. So the next thing I want to work on here is get this headlight mounted. I need to get all this wiring stuffed in there and start getting the front of this thing squared away. Alright, so because this fork leg tapers right here, I had to flare the bottom of the tube here. Probably can't tell. Those will slip on there like that. And get the, that'll give me a place to mount the headlight and the turn signals. Alright, got all that on there. Now it's starting to take shape. Don't look so much like a dirt bike anymore. It's starting to look more like a road bike. And since I'm going to a 520 chain, I need to go to a 520 sprocket. So this is a 14 tooth. But my problem here is the spacing isn't quite right. So I'm going to have to build a spacer to go behind this. So over to the lathe, I guess. So here's some of the parts that I bought. I got a chain slider, I got a brand new chain, I got another shock to replace the one that's on the bike now, because the one that's on the bike now, unfortunately it's damaged beyond repair. So this also has a heavier spring on it. And here is the dash cluster I'm going to use. Because I went to a dirt bike front end, I'm going to lose my speedometer drive. So I need something to calculate my speed, and this dash cluster has all the functions that I need to make this bike work on the road. Alright, well here's this all put back together. Got the chain and the chain guide on. Yep, I think that's going to work just fine. So I'm getting a little battery box made up here. I'm using some of this old scrap that I got laying around. So I'm going to get welding on this and see where it goes. Here's the completed battery box. I socked a bunch of speed holes in this thing to reduce its overall weight. So now I need to mount this on the bike. Well, I've got the wiring all, hooked up. Everything's all straightened out. This mess, I'm going to shorten all these wires, but I ran out of heat shrink, so I got to go to town. So that ain't going to happen today. But I got this all temporarily hooked up, and just for giggles, well boys, there ain't nothing to it but to do it.
So you got the old Suzuki Clipper going, huh?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It's a Zacker Clacker.
That's awesome, bro. Imagine being out in the woods, riding deep and fucking half of McCoys, and you fucking pass somebody on this.
I got all the wiring straightened out. Don't look so much like a spaghetti nightmare no more. And I think I'm gonna change gears. I'm not gonna do any more wiring, like install that instrument cluster. I think what I'm gonna do is focus my efforts on making the seat pan. I haven't decided if I want to make it out of metal or fiberglass or what, so I need to sit here and think about this for a minute. Oh my, almost $70 for that. Well, as you can see, I've already started making my form for my fiberglass. I think I'm going to take some saran wrap and wrap this tape, you know, just so the fiberglass don't stick to this, and it'll be, hopefully it'll be easier to remove. Alright, so this is what I got for my seat cushion. It's like neoprene or some type of rubber like that. And I think I got enough to make several more motorcycle seats in the future. Now I'm taking my flap disc and I'm smoothing it all out and shaping it with this. Well, here's the seat so far. And oh my god, what a mess. Jeez. So under the seat, there's that little post right there. It goes down into this mechanism here. So I can just pull a cable and it pops the seat off. It's kind of hard to do with one hand. So here's the seat cover all made up. I'm going to glue on the seat cover on the bottom edge here with some of this epoxy resin. It's a seat centipede. Well, here's the finished seat. Oh yeah, I think it looks pretty good. What do you guys think? Alright, so coming back up here to the front of the bike, I think I'm going to mount this cluster right to the headlight bucket. Something like that, somewhere in there. Okay, so there's that much of the template. So this is basically what my bracket's going to look like. but it's going to have some bends in it and like a flange to bolt to the headlight bucket. All right, so this is what I ended up with. Something like that. I'm going to transfer this onto some sheet metal. All right, here it is, made out of metal. We'll get this thing bent and then see if we can't make some marks on that headlight bucket to put these holes in. All right, I got the gauge cluster mounted up here. See my bracket back here. I think I got a pretty good view of it there. All right, this is the speed sensor. It's a Hall effect. It looks like it's got a little LED in it. That probably lights every time the magnets go by. To mount this to the front fork, it's very small area that I got to mount this in. I made this bracket here. Alright, so I got this whole mess to deal with. But don't worry, I'll get it one at a time till they're all done. I'm going to pull the gas tank off here and see what I can do about the clearance issue that I have here. Maybe I can roll that edge down or something. Well, that escalated quickly. But I tell you what, it's not hitting the tank no more, and I got a lot more steering angle. Alright, I got the rear tail lights and turn signals mounted on here. This is the assembly that I went with. Got everything wired up. Now what I need to do is figure out a way to attach the wire to the inside of the fender. Alright, so what I did is I took some of this plastic fender and welded a couple little tabs in here so I can get some zip ties around those and zip tie that down. Alright, so let's try. Yep, I got a horn. There's left turn. Yep. I'll try a right turn. Alright. Let's see, tail light. Alright. Rear brake. See if we can do this. Front brake. Headlight high and low. Yep, it all works. Alright, so it's been a few weeks since the last video clip there. I got this all mounted on the bike. Everything's working well. I got this mounted on here. It's all plugged in. Okay, so I've been riding around. One thing I noticed is that the wheel clamps, the rim locks, whatever the bead locks, whatever you call those in these tires, they're throwing the wheels way out of balance. So that issue is going to have to be addressed. The gearings is way too short, so I'm going to have to buy some sprockets. They're on their way. I'm going to take this bike down the road and over to the state park and go have a look around, see what this bike can do. Well, I made it out here to the trails, so let's go see what we can find. Well, I'm finding out real quick that these tires are only slightly better than road tires. These are the Kenda tires, and yeah, it's wet out here. It rained for like 2 days straight. I tried to get out here before, you know, the rain started up again. We had like 2 weeks of dry, but I was waiting on parts. You know how that goes, waiting on parts. So these tires are definitely no good out here. So there's not going to be too many places I'm going to be able to go. But we'll explore what we can. Looks like I rode about 10 miles. I set the trip when I got here. So I did about 10 miles out here. Well, I think I've explored quite a bit out here. The mud is killing me. These tires just do not work in the mud. So this bike has a 19-inch rear on it, and there isn't a whole lot of options when it comes to like a dual sport tire for a 19-inch wheel, so I kind of had to get what I could get. It was either get a full-blown knobby off-road tire that was a DOT tire, or get these, they're pretty much just road tires. So, I mean, I can relace the rear for an 18. I may do that in the future, get me some better tires for when I come out here and do stuff like this. So, I think I'm gonna pack it in today. All my camera batteries are dying, and it's getting late. I'm tired, and I'm gonna head back home. Just want to give you a little update on the Suzuki Dual Sport build here. I got around the paint and the gas tank, and I added some saddlebags. Yeah, you guys tell me what you think of this. Let me know what you think. Hit that like button, subscribe. Thanks for watching.